Indigenous culture in Australia dates back to between 40,000 and 60,000 years ago. It is one of the oldest cultures in the world. The indigenous Australians settled largely in fertile coastal regions where food and water were easily accessible. With European settlement came disease and conflict, causing a collapse in the number of indigenous Australians. Although the relationship between indigenous and non-indigenous Australians remains tense today, there is an increasing sense of the importance of protecting and maintaining Aboriginal culture.
For Aboriginal people, the land is not just soil or rocks or minerals, but a whole environment that is sustained by people and culture. The land is the core of all spirituality, and the relationship and the spirit of country is central to the issues that are important to those Indigenous people today. Tom Dijkstra once said, "We cultivated our land, but in a way different from the white man. We endeavored to live with the land, they seemed to live off it. I was taught to preserve, never to destroy." It is extremely important to maintain cultural awareness of the Indigenous history of this country. As time goes on and the Aboriginal systems of belief become less and less common in everyday Australian life, we must make sure that these traditions are not forgotten. Schools and universities have taken a responsibility upon themselves to teach this history throughout the education system and provide outlets to learn from Aboriginal perspectives. While Aboriginal culture prides itself on preserving the land around us, present-day society often encourages and allows for human destruction of natural environments. People often take advantage of these natural environments and abuse them until they slowly wear away. Over time, the frequency of visitations often cause destruction on these environments.
Australia. So on one hand, obviously understanding and embracing that culture that's been in Australia for an extremely long time is quite important, but also trying to work on actual practical and effective, not just symbolic ways of acknowledging that.
And I think their cultures and belief systems should be given more importance, and everyone should be taught some basic stuff about how they operate as communities, because it's only then that we will start to understand the problems they face are in fact caused by Europeans, and the Australian way of life just perpetuates them.
Obviously we've got to help fight alongside Aboriginal people to combat racism, to combat the erasure of their culture. It's been over a 200-year genocide, still going on today, mining companies, the government stealing land, trying to destroy people's livelihoods. So we've got to stand against racism and fight for Aboriginal liberation.
Another key element of Aboriginal culture is songlines, also known as dreaming tracks. In Aboriginal stories, these are the lines left by creator beings as they travelled across the land. These spirit ancestors sang as they walked, describing the land they travelled through. By singing these same songs, Aboriginal people maintained their connection to the land, as well as navigating vast distances without any need for maps. The dreaming is a crucial part of Aboriginal cultural identity. It is the Aboriginal community's understanding of the creation of the earth. The Aboriginal people believe that ancestor spirits walked the earth as semi-human figures, creating landforms, trees, and animals. They then rested in the form of rocks, stars, and trees, and remain there today. These sites are sacred to Aboriginal people. One of the most important stories is that of the rainbow serpent. Although there are many variations of this story, one of them is recounted here. The rainbow serpent slept underground. One day the serpent awoke and travelled the land, leaving tracks behind its tail. When the serpent returned, it called for the frogs to come out. but their bellies were full of water and they were slow. The serpent tickled them, and as they laughed the water spilled from their bellies, filling the tracks left by the serpent and creating the lakes and rivers of Australia.
Aboriginal law existed long before the common law system that we know today, and continues to exist in modern Aboriginal communities. It covers all aspects of Australian Indigenous life, such as culture, traditional fishing and land rights, as well as kinship and crime. Landmarks, songlines and traditional stories, kept alive through speech and communication, are what creates Aboriginal law. Unlike the Australian legal system, Aboriginal law can act as a guide on how we behave, such as who can eat what animal and who should or shouldn't marry. One aspect of Aboriginal custom that influences an individual's activities and identity is the totemic system. Totems are natural objects, plants or animals that are inherited by clan members as their spiritual emblems and for which the family are responsible, ensuring that the land and wildlife are cared for. Totems are the descendants of Dreamtime totemic beings which are linked to the places on the land from which they emerged. A person's totem is allocated to him or her at birth and defines his or her roles and relationships regarding society and creation.
Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that today we're meeting on the lands of my ancestors, the Wurundjeri people. And I'd like to take this opportunity to pay my respects to my elders, both past and present. Wominjeka welcome. Wurundjeri Ball, Yemen Kondi Bik. The Wurundjeri people welcome everyone to the land today. Wurundjeri no, Budambal War, Kondi Nangnak, Dulbadan Bik Bulik Bor, Tilikan. The Wurundjeri people want you to look after and protect the land as they did long before.
A welcome to country is a ceremony performed by a local Aboriginal person at any event in order to welcome visitors and participants to the land. It symbolises the traditional owners of the land giving their blessing and welcoming people to their land. A welcome to country can take various forms, through singing, dancing or smoke ceremonies, or simply through speech, depending on the culture of the land's traditional owners. By performing Welcome to Country and Acknowledgement of Country acts at events in Australia, modern people in the country are able to confirm and reinforce awareness of the Aboriginal people as the first Australians. It also raises awareness of the history and culture of Indigenous people and further enables acknowledgement of their ongoing connection to the land. In 2008, a Welcome to Country was held in Federal Parliament for the first time. Ngumbri Ngunnawal Elder Matilda House-Williams says that this called proper respect to all Aboriginal people and to all Australians, as well as paying respect to the ancestors and spirits of the land, allowing safe passage of all visitors.
For thousands of years, our peoples have observed this protocol. It is a good and honest and decent and very human act to reach out to make sure everyone has a place and is welcome.
As you can see, Indigenous culture is vital to life in Australia today. Their ancient history and their struggle with European settlers informs Australian art, culture and politics. As international students, we know very little about Indigenous history, and I would urge you to go out and find as much as you can about it while you're here. Sydney is full of Aboriginal sites, which is sacred or very important to Aboriginal people. So while you're here, keep your eyes open and your ears open, and you're bound to hear something. It really is a fascinating history, and I urge you to find out as much as you can, because it's really rewarding once you know. Thank you for watching.